Nearest you. Planet Fitness, home of the judgment-free zone.
The Zone Superstore features the largest selection of purple gear that you will ever encounter. Men's, ladies, kids, art, automotive, everything purple you could possibly imagine, and then some more. Located off exit 29B at 1744 East Shopper Road, visit them online at thezonesuperstore.com or give them a call, 410-574-7283. The Zone Superstore, where the Purple Nation shops. It's lunch break, time to get away for some food and some fun at Buffalo Wild Wings. Enjoy $6.99 lunch specials Monday through Friday from 11 to 4. So get away from the hustle and bustle and catch your favorite team in action at your local Buffalo Wild Wings here in White Marsh, Owings Mills, or Arundel Mills. Buffalo Wild Wings, you have to be here.
Visit Buffalo Wild Wings of White Marsh, Arundel Mills, or Owings Mills.
You have to be here!
With football season over and before the Orioles begin, you have time now to head over to the Akbar Palace in Randallstown to add spice to your life, not just heat, spice. Now, I go there for lunch and indulge in their buffet, or at dinner time and order off the menu. Now, I love the tandoor chicken and eggplant. What a ton of flavor. That's spice, not just heat. Akbar Palace in Randallstown, 3541 Brentbrook Drive off Liberty Road. Call 410-655-1600 or go to akbarpalace.com. Add some spice to your life.
Live from the WNST studios in Towson. Brought to you by the Zone Superstore, where the Purple Nation shops. We return to the MobTown Sports Beat with Thyrl Nelson. This is the MobTown Sports Beat. Here's Thyrl Nelson.
Welcome back. MobTown Sports Beat, 410-481-1570, the number. WNST.net, the website. Final segment of the show. Counting down to reality radio. Glenn Clark set to step in with the afternoon reality check in just about 15 minutes' time. In the meantime, we have open lines for you. And again, the prevailing story thus far has been the Big Joe Flacco agreement that, many of us have spent the better part of this offseason so far, rather than celebrating the triumph of these Ravens and a Super Bowl title, rather than, celebrating sort of the euphoric aftermath of that big Super Bowl win, have instead been focused on the future and what the future might have in store for this Ravens team with the big adjustments that would have to be made regarding Joe Flacco and his contract. And again, there have been big reactions league-wide over the course of the weekend, let's say. So many have been hung up on, again, that .6 as part of the contract, that, the title that comes with highest-paid quarterback, highest-paid player in the history of the NFL. And you have to guess that that's a title that's, fleeting at best, as, the Packers, Cowboys, Falcons, 49ers, and others will certainly have big choices to make as it relates to their quarterbacks. And as we learn through these negotiations, you don't necessarily have to be universally recognized as the top quarterback in the league. We just had a talk with Les Carpenter not that long ago, and his suggestion was that, so much of Flacco's legend, which is fair, but so much of his money to go along with that, which maybe is the unfair part, was earned via that one big play against the Denver secondary to continue the Ravens' playoff trek, which ultimately merits them or lands them in the Super Bowl and gives them the opportunity to win it beyond that. From Flacco's perspective, and Ravens fans know this all too well, he's a guy who has had the utmost confidence in himself from the get. He's a guy who apparently turned down an offer that was somewhere in the ballpark of $16 to $18 million per season last year in an effort to get the kind of numbers that we're now talking about in his contract. And whether or not he had won the Super Bowl, his leverage in that regard hadn't changed much, or wasn't likely to change much, because he was still, at the very least, as we talked about throughout the season, week 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, when things started to look bleak, there was still no doubt that the Ravens had no choice but to bring back Joe Flacco. These quarterbacks that you can count on, these quarterbacks that you feel capable of building around, are not easy to come by, and therefore, when it comes to setting the market or setting the market for themselves, they seem to have all the leverage. And in Flacco's case, again, evidence that no better than by his willingness to take $6.75 million or so in salary last year and forego $18 million plus per year based on his expectation that he should be in the same conversation with Drew Brees as compensation went. It was not an argument that he was going to lose easily, and not an argument that he would have been poised to lose at all when we consider that, there would have been teams that would have gone out there and bid for his services, that the Ravens had little choice when we start to talk about the cap numbers assigned to the franchise tag designations that they had to choose from. And this is a quarterback market that probably has Matt Schaub feeling pretty bad about the deal that he signed all of a sudden. Quarterbacks league-wide, again, we mentioned, Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, probably Colin Kaepernick at some point soon, Tony Romo, as a matter of fact, feeling an increased amount of leverage, an increased level of leverage based on what Flacco was able to do because, again, you can either pay these guys, you can assign these crazy salary cap numbers to them or these crazy franchise tag numbers to them, or you can simply let them walk in a market in which it's very difficult to replace those guys. So even though Tony Romo has, in the minds of most, not proven much, even though, again, fairly or not, Joe Flacco has, in the minds of most, not proven all that he needs to from a quarterbacking standpoint. As negotiations wore on, he was the guy that was wielding all the leverage, and so we not only celebrate that this is a done deal, but we can also celebrate that the Ravens seem to have gotten out of this with very little damage, and especially very little short-term damage if indeed that first-year contract number is in the ballpark of $7 million, as has been reported. So we think of all the belt-tightening, that these Ravens were projected to do, all of the talk that we had about, you have to get rid of Vontae Leach now. You have to be, sort of difficult and renegotiate with guys like Jacoby Jones and guys like Anquan Bolden. You have to be willing to part company with Ed Reed, Kerry Williams, Paul Kruger, and others. Suddenly you don't really have to do any of that. Now, the interesting part of that is that the franchise has already given due consideration to a lot of, if not all of those moves. Those are still things that for the most part, I think they're going to wind up doing. Again, Paul Kruger, probably a guy that on the open market is going to get a lot more money than the Ravens are willing to give him. Paul Kruger, a guy that even if we start to talk about the franchise tag number, probably a little too preclusive for the Ravens to want to bring him back. But, at the same time, the doubt about Paul Kruger has nothing to do with how he performed last year, which was phenomenally. It's based on the fact that was the only year in which you saw that level of production, and whether or not you're able to expect that same level of production moving forward. Again, if we continue to talk about this as a quarterback league, then certainly it seems that the other most valuable commodity in football would have to be guys who are able to get after the quarterback. And, the best way to stop a team from influencing you or wielding their will by way of the quarterback is to be able to get pressure on that guy. And for this year, at least, Paul Kruger seemed to be that guy. And so, maybe we talk about the numbers that he put up or failed to put up in years prior to this one as an organizational failure of sorts. The Ravens, it seemed, throughout the Kruger tenure here, have been not exactly convinced of where it is that they might have been best served sort of deploying him. And so as a result, Kruger's been back and forth between defensive end and outside linebacker. As a result, Kruger has been asked to make changes in his game, his body, everything, and, finally getting to settle into a position this year. Kruger found a level of comfort that, you may not be able to anticipate going forward, but at the very least, it is for now, difficult to ignore. So might it be worth the Ravens' efforts to bring him back for one season under the franchise tag to give him an opportunity to prove that he is capable of putting up this type of production moving forward before they make a difficult decision and simply allowing him to go? Or has that ship sailed already? Are the Ravens looking at him as a guy that is just going to command too much money, that is out to, to become a free agent, that might be one in a long line of free agents that have gone on to careers that numerically didn't necessarily rival what they were able to do with the Ravens, and as a result, maybe looking at a compensatory pick for themselves down the line? That part certainly still remains to be seen, but again, nice to have the financial freedom. Again, the Ravens have been preparing themselves while negotiating with Joe Flacco and hoping for the best, have been preparing for the worst, have been readying themselves for a salary cap doomsday scenario in this season in which they're poised to try and come back and defend a world title. And so now having gotten a little bit of short-term relief as a result of what appears to be a cap-friendly contract early on, it seems that the Ravens' flexibility from a roster standpoint might be at an all-time high. And so, maybe they do go out now and kick the tires on some of these free agent left tackles. Maybe they do think about prioritizing that position as they move forward. As, again, there was a threefold improvement on the offensive line that certainly seemed to be, a huge part of the Ravens' success this offseason. Maybe they are still looking at Anquan Bolden and Jacoby Jones as guys that could be renegotiated for some additional salary cap relief, which would allow them to go out and sort of continue to spend that way. Maybe they have a plan around the 11 picks that they are set to wield in this year's draft and how it is that they might be able to fill out and supplement their roster as a result. And you would still guess that Kerry Williams likely gone. You would still guess that Ed Reed, and barring a miraculous cap-friendly franchise tag or a miraculous cap-friendly salary agreement is likely gone somewhere else. And you would have to imagine that, Paul Kruger, again, barring the franchise tag being placed on him, is likely to be doing business somewhere else. So suddenly, again, the Ravens' flexibility becoming a lot more interesting, a lot more, potentially beneficial to them by way of this contract, which we can continue to react to 6 years, $120 million. We can continue to react to the label of highest paid, and I'm not here to sit and try and sell you on the notion that Joe Flacco is the best quarterback in all of football. But to say that it's a bad contract is a stretch as well, especially before we learn the details. And part of those details will likely include Flacco and the Ravens back at the table, moving money around in an effort to keep this cap friendly in just a couple of years' time. And those details also include now a brand-new market that's been set for quarterbacks that, guys like Rodgers and guys like Romo and guys like Ryan and Colin Kaepernick are likely to take advantage of over the next couple of years themselves as well. And so the Ravens, at the very least, can count themselves as a team that won't have to address that in the immediate future. And anytime they do address that, you would have to guess that it will have to be to team benefit as well. So all of that spells, good news, I guess, from a Ravens fans' perspective, despite the gloom and doom that we have heard about from fans throughout the league over the course of this offseason. And maybe the Ravens are much better poised to potentially come back and defend their Super Bowl title than we would have guessed them to be just a short time ago or before the announcement was made, or even more so immediately after the announcement was made, as we were trying to digest some of the numbers and the reflection of $20.1 million or so per season under the salary cap. That's pretty much going to do it for us for the day. Before we go, thanks to all of those who made today's show what it's going to be. We missed out on Ryan Mink today. He, of course, has business at the castle as, there's a bit of a celebration going on there. Joe Flacco announcing and set to come to official terms now with the Ravens. And as we mentioned, while the NFL continues to spout out numbers related to contracts that are largely fraudulent, they love to celebrate the fact that, after nickel and diming their players throughout the offseason, that they have made these over-the-top commitments to these guys. And so today will be that type of celebration from a Ravens standpoint, and deservedly so, as we can all breathe a bit of a sigh of relief from the doomsday scenarios that we had begun to think about related to the Ravens' preparations for 2013 and beyond. We'll hope to catch up with Ryan Mink at some point soon, and we'll be looking forward to getting the contents of that press conference out to you on the WNST airways at some point as well, I am certain. Also, thanks to Jordan Campbell. Jordan Campbell, soon to be an NFL draftee, lightly regarded, I guess, coming out of New Mexico Highlands, formerly of USC, a guy who didn't get a combine invite and who's burning a little bit as a result of that. Said he's got some good stuff up on YouTube that you want to check out. We always talk to these guys about Twitter and Facebook, and he's doing both of those, but he's doing some interesting stuff on YouTube as well that you might want to go check out and, make your opinion of Jordan Campbell for himself. He was certainly an impressive guy to talk with. Les Carpenter joined us, fought through some connection problems, if you will, and talked about his article over the weekend, the sort of easy prognosis that Joe Flacco has Raheem Moore to thank, and to some degree he does, but again, more than that, he has Robert Griffin to thank, I would think. He has the Washington Redskins maybe more than Robert Griffin. He has the new quarterback market to thank, and he has himself to thank as well. Flacco did a tremendous job in navigating these Ravens through this postseason. Flacco did a tremendously gutsy thing in gambling on himself, as many have grown accustomed to saying during this season, and taking $6.75 million in the face of an $18 or so million offer at the beginning of the season, and as a result has cashed in a big way, and again, maybe more importantly, set the blueprint by which other quarterbacks will be looking to cash in the immediate future as well. And so, again, we are happy to have this episode behind us more than anything else, so we can concentrate on all that is ahead in the sports calendar year, including baseball, which Alan McCallum will be in to join us tomorrow to talk a little baseball. And in the meantime, again, Jordan Campbell, Les Carpenter, both available for consumption at your convenience in the buyatoyota.com audio vault at WNST.net. You can guess that the Ravens press conference celebrating Flacco's signing will be there soon as well, as quickly as that one is finished. And looking forward to talking a little baseball tomorrow now that we have put that business behind us. You are listening to 1570 AM, WNST Towson, Baltimore, and streaming live on the web at WNST.net. We never stop talking Baltimore sports. This hour brought to you by Dovell & Williams Truck Center. Dovell & Williams award-winning parts and service center can put your Isuzu or GMW Series trucks back on the road at the lowest cost you'll find anywhere. They know trucks. DovellandWilliams.com. Up next on WNST, Reality Radio begins. Glenn Clark steps in for your afternoon reality check on the station where we never stop talking.
Every time I've ever stepped